It's a little different. It's more of like in the moment. If they do have advanced directives, it's not as common in pediatrics, but it's more of like in the moment, especially in the ICU when something is about to, is going down, and the family might not agree with what we want, but the physicians and the care team knows that without this particular intervention, like for instance, blood transfusions, when there's a religious contraindication to that, but it would mean life or death, then two physicians can sign off on that.
So you have the right to advocate for your child, but you may not have the right to decline life-saving measures for your child.
I mean, in some instances you can when you're on palliative care, or if there's no cure and you're kind of at the end stages of life, you can it's all very fluid. You can say, I don't want any more done. And most of the time the physicians respect that because they know, there is no cure and this child is suffering. And that's, one of our oaths is not to, cause suffering.
Of course, do no harm. But now, does that apply to adults too, what you just said about the two physicians? Let's say it's a blood transfusion.
I believe so. But it might not. I don't know. I've only ever worked with pediatrics.
Oh, so you're a specialist from the get-go.
Yeah. So I don't know.
So we were talking before about this case. It's very disturbing, and there's many cases, unfortunately, like this, where there has been a child that repeatedly comes to the ER, repeatedly comes to the hospital with injury, and they suspect that the parents are they're actually abusing the child, and at the root of all this. And so have you been in that situation where you've seen that and you've had to take action for a kid
and report it?
Yes. When we initially get a patient from the ER, we do an admission assessment, and we have a whole category on, suspicious injuries, or we ask the child if they're old enough, like, do you feel safe? And then depending on the type of injury that they come in for, they'll initiate something called the scan team, where they come and they'll check for like retinal hemorrhages, old fractures in various stages of healing. There's a whole screening, when we're lucky enough to have an institution that takes that very seriously and looks out.
And you report it to a social agency? Do you report it, or somebody does?
I would tell the physician, I have this suspicion, and then usually they take it steps further. I don't really, or I could talk to the social worker if I do have a concern at all times, regardless of what they come in with or for. If something looks concerning, we have a lot of people that are on board to help.
It sounds like the system failed though in that Lancaster case that you're talking about, Rob.
Talk about failure, Now, are you there at the main campus then in Westwood?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's a beautiful hospital.
That's incredible.
It is.
It's huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Huge, but very well run.
Yeah.
And we're so lucky to have that in our city.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's just like world-class care right here in LA,
Number one in California.
There you go. Yeah. I like that. And that's saying something, because you got Berkeley and you got Stanford. And, so that really is saying something. So we were talking about being a nurse mentor. Can you just elaborate a little bit more? What is a nurse mentor?
Yeah, some people call it a nurse coach, a nurse mentor. Basically, I started to suffer from a lot of symptoms of burnout myself, coming home and needing that glass of wine every day.
My brother does that every lunch, this guy. Right. 5 martini lunch. I don't know.
He's a crazy kid, but you know what? Let's go have a martini.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't think so.
Doing these unhealthy
things
to cope with the death and the sadness and the intensity of our career and our calling. So I went through my own personal struggle with that and found a lot of things that helped me to recover and to be, living my best life and in alignment with why I even chose to be a nurse in the first place. So it actually just came to me kind of like the calling to become a nurse. It came to me the same way, and just wanting to help as many nurses as I can, ultimately to help as many patients as we can. So
We're Larry and Rob Mandel, the brothers-in-law, here on Go Country 105. Do you have a legal issue you need help with? We want to hear from you.
Find us on Instagram and send us a message. Then tune in on Saturdays at 8 a.m. right here on Go Country 105.
You were just written up in Voyage LA magazine as number one lady boss. Is that
What
right?
is that?
How was that?
Yeah, that was
What's that all
awesome.
about?
Yeah, they reached out to me and just said that they really liked my content and the things I was doing for nurses and the community, and that was just a huge honor and super cool.
And so what does lady boss mean? Does it mean like you're just a boss lady, or does it mean you actually are a supervisor or a boss of?
Well, I am a supervisor and a charge nurse, but I think the context of the article, they were saying the new face of
I
what
see.
like a boss is, you know, lady
Yeah,
boss.
Kind of like me.
Yeah, well, it's a lady boss.
Yeah, like he says,
Oh,
I like him.
A lady,
Yeah.
no, a man boss.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for me, it was just saying that you don't have to, you know, fit into this mold of being, you know, what a boss I think traditionally used to be.
Yeah.
That there's other ways to empower other women and to lift
Right.
up, you know, your community, and that in and of itself is being a hashtag lady boss.
Nice. Well, Larry and I are all about empowering women. We really
Yeah,
are. We
great.
dig what you're doing. Hey, tell us again that website that you have for the other nurses to reach you and get mentoring.
The best place is my Instagram at Beauty of a Nurse. And I do have the website, www.beautyofanurse.com,
Beauty
but
of a
I'm
Nurse.
currently building that. So
Okay, all right.
if you follow my Instagram, I constantly update my followers on what I'm doing and what I can offer. and
Okay.
Things like
So
that.
Beauty of a Nurse or Courtney Raines are
That's
in.
right.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
okay.
Well, Courtney, thank you for the work you do. And we're going to move on to our next segment, which is called Tip of the Day. But stick around till the end of our show so we can thank you properly for stopping by. Rob, let's talk about our tip of the day.
All right, so our tip is if you've been in an accident and you're seeking medical attention, and for yourself or your kid, right? Try to get to UCLA. No, but that's, Courtney. Yeah, and tell your physician for sure of all the injuries you're feeling, because if you forget to tell your doctor something, it may backfire. The other side, you know, if you're in an accident and you're going up against an insurance company, if you're going up against an opposing driver or whatever, if you don't document thoroughly, right, if you don't thoroughly document everything that's going on, and then later, like now the lower back didn't hurt that much in the beginning, but a month later it's the thing that's really killing you, and you didn't quite speak up. Then they're going to try and hold that against you and make you come out, make out like you're a faker or something.
Yeah,
So you
just
want to
like-
watch out for
Yeah,
that.
just like in Courtney's line of work, in your context, you want to make sure that you get all the information about what's bothering the person, because something that seems benign at the time could be a lot more serious, right?
Exactly. So, Courtney, how about this? True or false, right? There is a ban in Honolulu, Hawaii, on people looking at their cell phones while they're walking, crossing the street.
I would hope that's true.
Okay, you think it's true?
It is true.
Wow. Yeah, the fines start at $15 and go as high as $99 for multiple violations. Laugh all you want.
Yeah.
But texting and walking, my God, look at this statistic. Causes 11,000 injuries per year. And it seems to be banned in other states.
Don't do it.
And I imagine, you're walking down the street, you're texting while you're walking down the street, you're crossing the street, you walk right in front of a car.
Yeah.
Or a guy on his bicycle.
I've seen these funny video shows where somebody's just walking and goes right into a fountain.
Yeah, they trip over their own 2 feet. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, let's be safe out there and let's not be silly, right?
So our producers say we